Hey folks, this is Pokey Do-Right in the Pokey Do-Right garage with my sidekick. Somebody that kind of sidekick dirty. We are changing the fuel pump on a 97 Mercury Marquis. Familiar looking car. And I'm seeing all these people with all these problems pulling on the, having problems with the straps that are up inside these cars. And the main issue with doing this pump without removing the fuel tank, I keep my idea here, without removing the fuel tank, is this wire here, okay? And it goes to a sending unit in the top of the tank. Now, there is a way I'm going to show you how to remove and replace your fuel pump on a Lincoln Town Car, Mercury Marquis, Ford Crown Victoria, and a few other models that use the same upright fuel tank design. Now, let's go underneath and I'll show you. So, what I've done is I have not removed the straps. As you can see, they're quite in there. But, there's the fuel pump. So, you're wanting to remove the fuel pump in this car, and you're trying to figure out how. Well, the first thing you need to do is you need to disconnect your fuel lines, and that's going to require one of these little fuel pump tool or fuel line tools for a Ford. And up here in the top, you'll find that there is just a little snap that's inside the top of this frame rail. And you can pry on it with like I did with a pair of wire cutters, wire strippers. I just opened them up, put them on both sides, and pop, and it come out. Now, the other part is these color-coded wires that go to that sending unit. As you can see, I have stripped them back, and they're color-coded. You have a gray with white, or gray with red stripe, a dark gray with white. Now, yours might vary. And you have a red one. As you can see, there is the fuel tank inside. So, that part will not come out of this rail very easily. You can pry on it and totally remove this. You'll put a small dent in this metal to the bottom of the trunk, and it's pretty much harmless. And the way to do that is use a claw hammer with a straight claw, reach it up inside there, and then pry back, and you will pry back on it, and you'll be able to bend that metal a little bit and get this plug out. Now, in my case, I don't need to do that. So what I did is I removed all the bolts, okay? Took a screwdriver and pried it loose from its gasket, as you can see over there. And once I pried it loose from its gasket, I then pulled a little bit of slack on this wire here. It's kind of hard to do. It's got a tape strip and a little snap in it too, just like that one does. And then strip the wires back, and I'm going to just use standard butt connectors to put it back together. And on the other end of that tank over there, other end, you want to cut back your looming a little bit so you can get that wire up there exposed good. Okay, like I've done, so you can get a set of crimpers up in there and put butt connectors on it. And then in this one's case, hey, sorry about that light, I'm doing this with one hand. I've pulled the whole thing out, and you're going to have to grab this float. This is the float for the fuel sending unit right here for your gauge. This is the float, and you will not damage it, but you're going to have to kind of squeeze it a little bit to work it out of the hole, and it will come out. And then you're going to turn it up. You will turn, when you pull it out, you'll turn it up and then rotate it down till it hits the pumpkin, and then slide it over, and then you'll flip it like I've got mine right now. Now, if you'll see this, there's my tank. I'm sorry, I'll have to probably edit this to get this camera right for you. But as you see this, here's my tank height. There's all my fuel pump assembly hanging there, nice and wet and nasty. And this is all it takes to change all of this out. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and change this pump out, put the new one in, and then reverse the procedure of rolling that up, spinning it around, sliding in the float, this float assembly right here, getting that first in the hole, and then I will slightly grab it, crimp it a little bit, and before you close it up, make sure you didn't bend it any. Make sure you didn't bend that arm any. It should be still a 90 degree, and if it isn't, straighten it out before you push the fuel pump assembly back into the tank. Now, this doesn't require you taking loose any bolts anywhere, not on the fuel neck filler, anywhere. You'll be able to pull this whole thing out. And what I suggest to anybody when you pull it out this way to change the fuel pump out or any parts on here, take some RTV and wipe a thin layer on that gasket, clean the surface up here real good with some rubbing alcohol, and let it dry, and then put it back on there. Let that tack up just a little bit, and then put it back on there. Now, these are standard Airtech style fuel pumps you can buy for like 30 bucks at Amazon, so they're not hard to replace. This sending unit usually never fails, so it's not a problem. The wires, there's plenty of space on the other side of that where you'll see your wiring harness with those wires going over to that little unit, and give yourself about 4 inches. You can pull on those and get a little bit of slack, not much, and end up with like this is. Up here in the top, there is roughly 3.5 inches, plenty of room, and then there's a lot of space up top up here to reach in with a set of crimpers and get your crimp done, okay? Make sure you pop that back in up there, your plug that goes back to your whole unit, and it'll reactivate everything. Make sure you always disconnect your battery on your cars when you do this, because when you're going to take loose that item that's up in there, that white wire up there, they do have voltage in them. So take them loose, take the battery loose, and get you a border collie to help you do the job. She's the one that told me how to do this. Aren't they smart? All right, guys, pokey do right. That's doing a fuel tank. And as you'll see here, I took a strap. I put the brakes on, put the emergency brake on the wheel, and I took a strap and hooked it over here to this muffler and cranked it tight to pull that muffler over about 1.5 inches. Don't worry, it won't hurt nothing. It's on rubber hangers. Move it over, and then it makes everything easy. So there is your Mercury Marquis, Lincoln Continental, Lincoln Town Cars, whatever the hell they are, rear-wheel drive versions of the Ford platform, Crown Victorias. I believe that's a 93 or 94 model all the way up to 2000 something. So same kind of vehicle that's got that look on it. There you go. That's an easy fix. No more welding and cutting straps and trying to buy extra studs and bolts. That's the easy way.